It's time for a little bit of a cosmic weather forecast. So I'm going to bring up the chart. Let me share the screen for the full moon. So, let's talk about what's going on this week. What have we got going on this week? Can everybody see the chart? Great. This is Wednesday morning in the UK, just after midnight, nearly 1 o'clock in the morning. So actually Tuesday night, the moon will be at its most ripe in the sky. I'm not sure what time the moon is coming up, but in the chart here, you can see that the moon is up in the 10th house in the sign of Scorpio. And it's a full moon because it is opposite the sun, which is the circle. You should be able to see my cursor making some action down here in the fourth house. So the circle with the dot in it is the sun. If you are not familiar with astrology, these are called glyphs. So the sun is the circle with the dot in it, and it's in the sign of Taurus at the moment. You can see it's at 4 degrees, and the moon is directly opposite at 4 degrees in the sign of Scorpio. So full moons tend to be a culminating energy. And let's think back what we've been through. We've just been through this like mad eclipse cycle. So now we're coming into this transformative energy of Scorpio. So Scorpio is where there's a sort of death of the ego, death of the self a little bit, and we come into more of a union. We understand things on a more deeper psychological level. And, if I look at this chart, I can still see so much activity down in Aries. And I'm just going to kind of burst into this, but this is like a really big week astrologically. Like we've just had this big eclipse cycle, and that was intense. That was all happening alongside Chiron, which is this green key down in this little stack of energies in Aries next to the sun. So the sun has dipped into Taurus now. But we still have, just before the sun, Venus in Aries, Chiron in Aries, Mercury in Aries, who is only just at the end of a retrograde period. So the day after the full moon, Mercury will be turning direct. So there's quite a lot of Aries. Oh, and then this little headphones character. This is the North Node. So this is a ecliptical point of the moon, which is why we had an eclipse recently, because the sun was down here. It was further back and next to its ecliptical point. So there's quite a lot of action in Aries, and Aries is about our identity, it's about ourselves, and we are recreating ourselves right now. We've just kind of had that powerful turning point of the eclipse, and now we're in the first full moon beyond that. So this is like a culminating energy of that powerful eclipse, if you like, and full moons culminate it. So our intentions that we set around that time, if we work with intention, are really beginning to pop and open up. You can see over on its own is Pluto in Aquarius. Now, Pluto we've been traveling with in these kind of astrology videos and sessions for quite a while, because it's quite a big event when Pluto changes signs, and it's been traveling through Capricorn, which relates to our systems, whether that's our personal systems, our way of doing things, our core beliefs about ourselves, our foundations and roots, or whether it's our societal systems. So that really governs governments and systems like education systems, the health system, this system, that system. All these ones that we currently have in place have been getting a bit of Pluto medicine, which is also transformative. It is what rules Scorpio. It's the new ruler of Scorpio. So it's about breaking things down, tearing down what doesn't work, and to rebuild something new, to rebirth. So it relates a lot to death as well, and rebirth. So we're actually finding it in a T square to this full moon. So with the moon in Scorpio, this can feel quite intense because this is deep waters. This can feel like things wanting to come to the surface. So still a bit of healing, still a little bit of shadow work that wants to bubble up. And this is not necessarily going to be a challenge for everyone, but for some people it might feel a little bit more confrontational, like with the self, like with our limitations and our where we restrict ourselves. So the key, whenever you have these sort of polarizing energies of our old stuff, the moon, and our projected new stuff, our future stuff, the sun, where we're shining our light, where our consciousness wants to go. So when that kind of tension pulls things up, the key is always the planet, which is in the T square. So Pluto in this case is in Aquarius. So if you're feeling like it's a bit painful to relive or to remember some of these old wounds, some of these challenging emotions, then I think the focus about recreating something new for future generations will get you through. Remembering that the direction that you're going in now, and I think this is particularly important for spiritual people, this full moon in Scorpio, because there's so much happening this week that relates to liberation and change on planet Earth. So the full moon itself is like bringing up stuff to be released so that we can plant seeds for the future. And so we already spoke about the full moon is happening at like the early hours of Wednesday morning, and some point the next day on the 25th, on the Thursday, Uranus and Jupiter will come together. They're currently here in the fifth house. They're together in Taurus. Now they come together only once about every 14 years. So you're looking back at the big cycle changing there. And when Uranus and Jupiter come together, we can expect quite surprising expansions. Some things that are just kind of feel like, oh, they just came out of nowhere. It can be shocking events. It can really cause a bit of disruption for people that are really resistant to change. And it's in this fixed earth sign. So it's in the sign of Taurus. This could really change our relationship to the planet and to money as well, because Taurus rules those themes of the material world. So our possessions, our worth, our value, our resources, whether they are physical resources or our own energetic resources. So we may experience some liberation around how we see that, and I think this is why I feel like especially for spiritual people, empathic people who have been overly giving, we may get a little revelation around, actually some balance there. And, this is partly why I think we are going through this healing, is so that we can discover some deeper reserves of what we have to offer. So by making space, new can blossom or new can come through. So whatever we've been kind of holding down wants to come out now, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a negative thing. It can be that we just take this heavy layer off to expose something that's a little bit more playful and a little bit more light and a little bit more wise underneath. And the other thing, so then we also have the Mercury retrograde moving forwards as well on the 25th. So the same day as the Jupiter Uranus conjunction, Mercury will station and move direct. So we've also potentially been working on our thought patterns, Mercury, when it goes retrograde, goes into our underworld as well. We've really been in that psyche, like, and I don't know, I think definitely I have been able to witness myself and my mind, the way it works much more easily this over this period of about, it's been about 6 weeks, I would say, of the Mercury stuff and the eclipsy stuff. It's been a lot. And initially quite disruptive and quite confusing and a bit painful at times. And now a little bit more clear, a little bit more optimistic. And the Mercury, if you were having challenges around communication or thought processes in the shadow phase of this retrograde cycle, so say 6 weeks ago, 4 to 6 weeks ago, then you may find these challenges emerge and give you an opportunity to think or speak differently, and understand ourselves a bit differently. So the last thing that I think is important this week, this is what I'm talking about, it's quite a big week, and I think that grounding ourselves in nature, grounding ourselves in our spiritual practice will be a really good way through this, and just remembering that there will be a lot of disruption still going on in the world. We're still in this sort of us and them energy. It's quite exacerbated at the moment, this kind of want for independence, and the want for independence can put a bit of pressure on the relationship aspect, the harmonics, and harmony, and the connection that we have with each other. So this, and we're going to also in the third house, just at the beginning here, you can see the red and the blue characters. That's Mars and Neptune. They're in Pisces. And by the 29th, they will be at exactly 28 degrees together. Now, this can feel a little bit chaotic. Neptune is like no boundaries, it's sensitivity, and Mars comes in with this fiery energy and wants to kind of ignite all our sensitivities and maybe drive us towards escaping and feeling those sort of more victim-y sensations, and really what the energy here in its most practical form would be to apply your spiritual discipline that you have been working on with Saturn moving through Pisces as well. Whether that is getting up and giving yourselves 3 minutes of conscious breathing in the morning, or whether it's a whole hour at the beginning of the day and the evening as well. Something, it doesn't matter whether it's how long it is. I suppose it depends on the depth of your challenge, how long you give yourself. But to prevent any sort of psychic burnout, I think is what I want to say. Just remembering the tools that you have been gathering, these kind of more spiritual tools that help you connect to the bigger macrocosm, and then when all the world is going and getting flipped on its head, and the wars are feeling like they're not dying down, and the pain looks like it's a bit overwhelming for many people, just coming back to the knowing that we are cyclical by nature as a planet and as a people. So there's big turns, there's big changes happening. They don't happen in the blink of an eye. They don't happen overnight. Although sometimes it will feel like it with that Uranus energy, that sudden flash of lightning, that, oh, it's all changed. But actually the change, everything needs adjustment. And it kind of like, you take one peg out and things have to fall into a different place, and they might not sit comfortably there for a bit. And then, so they need to wiggle and change, and new support needs to be acknowledged and put in place. So that is my little wrap up for the full moon in Scorpio. Sending love out to you all. If anybody wants a personal reading, you can actually see where that moon falls in your own chart. We've done groups like this before online, having your own personal birth chart can inform you like what area of your life is really getting that Uranus, Jupiter expansion. For me, it's the third house, so it's about learning, it's about communication, it's about immediate learning and stuff. So yeah, if you want a reading, you can get in touch with me, and we can arrange that. Is that